Hello everybody, it's your boy the Khaotic One, and welcome to a brand new series. In an alternate universe, Disney obtains the rights to every Marvel property, and Kevin Feige retired from filming the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's say they finish the entire story. So Disney wants to do a reboot, and they just hire me. No particular reason, just a simplicity of this universe. But I do have some conditions. I choose the actors and directors, producers, and storyboard writers, as well as each film being R-rated. I want to add, the DC films do one thing right, in my opinion, that's giving the films a dark, gritty feel to them. But we should also have some lighthearted moments and comedic moments in these films as well. And I think the upcoming Venom Let There Be Carnage film is going to prove me right as how an R-rated Marvel film should be done, where there's comedic moments, where you can make an MCU film rated R and keep all its magic about it. So, let's say the announcement is made 5 years prior to the first film being announced, which, as we're doing, is the Fantastic Four. I do have some details about this first film, of course. The first film, of course, the director is going to be Tim Burton, who has been the head honcho for films such as Dumbo, DC's Batman, and Edward Scissorhands. So he has plenty of experience doing superhero movies, as well as family-oriented movies, as movies with a dark theme. So it'll be easy for him to direct a film such as the Fantastic Four and do what I want the cinematic universe is going for. Also, the villain of this film would be the Mole Man, and I'll reveal who plays him in a second. This will also be a origin story. Now let's take a look at the cast. Some of these will seem obvious, of course. Starting off with Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic, we have John Krasinski. Pretty much a obvious one, as he's being penciled and by a lot of people to play him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Some films he's been in is A Quiet Place, which he directed, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, as well as Nobody Walks. Next is The Invisible Woman, being played by John Krasinski's wife, Emily Blunt. She also played in A Quiet Place. She was also in The Girl on the Train and Wild Mountain Thyme. So the couple between Reed Richards and Susan Storm will be played by a real-life couple. And plus, I don't think you can get one without the other when you get this deal. Next is Johnny Storm. He's going to be played by someone who's relatively unknown currently. That is going to be Lucas Hedges. He's been in Boy Erased, Manchester by the Sea, and Ben is Back. Going on next to The Thing, or Ben Grimm. He's going to be played by someone I believe should be discussed more as a possibility for the role. Danny McBride. Someone who could bring both emotion and comedy to a scene with ease. Some films he's been in are This Is the End, Alien Covenant, as well as 30 Minutes or Less. Now on to the main villain of the film, the Mole Man, who is going to be played by, in my opinion, the only person who can do this character justice. Also, probably Tim Burton's favorite person, Danny DeVito. Some films he's been a part of is Jumanji: The Next Level, Dumbo, a Tim Burton film, and Batman Returns, a Tim Burton film. Now time for some minor candidates in this film. First is Alicia Masters, the girlfriend of Ben Grimm. She will be played by Karen Gillan, who has played in Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, Guardians of the Galaxy, she was Nebula by the way, and as well as Oculus. Next up is going to be Agatha Harkness. She will be played by Jodie Foster, who was in Hotel Artemis, Carnage, no, not that Carnage, better, and The Brave One. Next up are characters with cameo appearances from the film. First is going to be Nick Fury, who will be played by Ernie Hudson, who has been in films like The Ghostbusters, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and The Battle Dogs. And finally, we have Namor McKenzie, who will be played by Brian T., who should be talked about more for the role, and he won't be picked by Feige, so I'll cast him in the role. Films he's been in is Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows, and The Wolverine. Starting off with Act 1, the film begins with Reed Richards proposing a rocket that is faster than light to other head scientists. We would then go on to a montage of course, this spacecraft being built. Post-montage, we see Reed Richards speaking to Susan, Ben, and Johnny about sneaking onto the Marvel One. There's of course pushback by Ben, but it is eventually agreed upon by the four individuals. with it also being agreed that Ben would be the craft's pilot. As the crew is getting through space, the team eventually begins to feel a strange sensation. Soon they begin to change. Reed's limbs begin to stretch like putty. Susan's body begins to become transparent. Johnny's body heats up as he combusts in the flames, and Ben begins to contort into a Rocky-esque body. Ben? Reed calls out as Ben is trying to shield his appearance from everybody. Don't look at me. I'm a monster. Reed is trying to figure out what is all happening. The only thing Reed knows how to do is go to his nanny, Agatha Harkness. We then go on to a scene where Harvey Elder proposes an idea to dig deep into the earth to find what's hiding in the hollow part of the earth, as he calls it. Harvey is ridiculed by his fellow scientists. Harvey would leave and would eventually come upon a deep cave. He walks into the cave and comes by a set of diamonds and stares endlessly at them, until his eyes begin to burn. Harvey begins to scream in pain as he falls down a pit that goes deep within the earth. He awakens and notices that he has become blind, his eyes a shade of deep red. He begins to explore this subterranean area the best he can, being blind and all. Harvey eventually runs into the natives in this realm, the Moloids. The Moloids teach Harvey how to see his surroundings without sight, kind of like the mole creatures in Avatar: The Last Airbender with Toph. Eventually, Harvey ends up becoming the leader of the Moloids, as he hatches a plan to conquer the Earth, the planet that had rejected him. Going on to Act 2, we begin this act with the Fantastic Four group, with Ben being covered in this comedic robe covering his body. I just think it would be pretty funny. Reed knocks on Agatha's door, and she immediately opens and says, What in God's earth have the four of you gotten into this time? Richards explains what has happened, and what happened to Agatha, and she sits there for a moment. Then she explains that they might have come across some sort of cosmic storm, and the radiation from it changed the group either from within, or, as in Ben's case, physically. Then there's a news report of a nearby nuclear plane being attacked by a short person and a bunch of yellow humanoids. That description is there to continue the idea of everyone just ribbing the mole man about him being short. Agatha tells the group to go investigate. Maybe these new abilities might help them in some way. The group is clearly uneasy about this, as they have no idea how to control said abilities yet. As they get to the power plant, the mole man is there barking orders to the Moloids. Invisible Woman does something sneaky and uses her powers to sneak behind the mole man, who, using his other senses, notices hers and sends the Moloids to attack her. The other members of the Fantastic Four come to the Invisible Woman's aid as a massive fight begins to break out. However, the Fantastic Four is beaten by the Mole Man, who gloats before going back to the subterranean realm. In a fit of rage, sadness, and confusion, Ben runs off into a nearby forest, not being seen for a long while. We then go a few days into the future, and Reed Richards is in his lab trying to figure out what can be done to the Mole Man. Richard gets a call from Ben's girlfriend, Alicia Masters. When Richards answers, she's clearly been crying. She's wondering where Ben has gone. She hasn't seen him in days and is clearly scared, not knowing where he is. Richards promises that he will find him soon and will give her a call back. Mr. Fantastic finds the thing sitting on his stump, having been crying. Richards puts his hand on his shoulder and tries to calm him down and tells him that Alicia is worried about him. I can't go into that world. Look at me. I'm a monster. She would just look at me in disgust, the thing would tell him. Richards tries to console Ben, but Ben grabs Richards by his collar and throws him up against a tree. You have no idea how this feels! I'm a damn orange-flavored rock monster because of you! However, before Ben can do any more harm to Richards, another explosion is heard nearby as both Ben and Richards go to see what's happening, but not before Richards sends out a text. Going on to Act 3 of this film, Susan and Johnny Storm meet up with Richards and the Thing as they notice the Mole Man and a group of Moloids once again attacking another power plant, or nuclear plant. This time the Fantastic Four has come prepared. The final fight begins and the Fantastic Four gain control when it seems as if it is over. The Mole Man grins and a giant monster appears from the ground. He dubs it Giganto. The Fantastic Four battles with Giganto and become triumphant, as police and other emergency officials run to the scene. Alicia runs into the group and Ben hides himself from her. Alicia asks where Ben is at, where Richards points at the Thing, who is ashamed still of his look. Alicia forces Ben to look at her. Ben, is that you? She asks. Ben nods and expects her to look at him with disgust, but is pleasantly surprised when she hugs him tightly, crying, "You scared me. I had no idea where you were. You didn't call her anything." Ben hugs her back and apologizes, explaining he thought she would be horrified at his new look. To where she responds, telling him that she doesn't care what he looks like. She loves him for him, not his looks. The two embrace one another with a kiss. We go on to the mid-credit scene. In the mid-credit scene, it shows Reed Richards handing the mole man to a group of unspecified soldiers. Behind him, you hear, "Long time no see, Dr. Richards." The camera pans around to see Nick Fury behind Reed Richards. And we go on to the post-credit scene. This scene is going to be short and sweet. We go beneath the ocean and see a beautiful city. Sitting on his throne is the king of Atlantis, Namor Mackenzie. And that's the end of the film. Now, the reason I'm starting off with the Fantastic Four is, well, the name mostly associated with the Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family, as well as the main villain in our universe's first saga being from the Fantastic Four. I'm sure you can guess who that is with that hint. But the next film, which is going to be based off of the Mutant Angel, but there is no tie-in to him from this film. But Disney's Iron Man had no tie-in to the Incredible Hulk, so I guess it's fine. If you have any ideas or suggestions, tell me down in the comments section. This is the Chaotic One saying peace.